But I'm just hoping in the future that with security, it doesn't take away too much of what Mardi Gras is about. And that is just getting everybody together and having a good time.
Come on, Savai, and welcome to In the Pocket with JayBo, and I'm your host, JayBo. And y'all might be saying, Jay, what the heck you doing with that purple, green, and gold on? Well, y'all are so lucky. Today is going to be our Mardi Gras special for 2026. And today we're having season 3, episode 2. And we got a co-host today, and coming back to join us for his 3rd appearance on In the Pocket with JayBo is a West Bank legend, Mr. Troy T.C. Cotten. Troy, how you doing, man?
How's your mom and them, Jay? We doing all right.
All right, brother.
I'm all excited to do this with my buddy Paul Leman, Mr. Mardi Gras himself, and we're going to learn a lot tonight and have some great stories.
Yes, indeed, we sure
There's
are.
only one Mr.
And
Mardi
also,
Gras, and he's not with us anymore, unfortunately.
yeah, that's true. We'll call Paul Param Mardi Gras. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
And also joining us today, a very, very special guest who is involved in a lot of activities during the Mardi Gras season, who is born and raised in the New Orleans area, Mr. Paul Leman. Paul, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all being here. So we're going to cover a lot of ground today, but before we get into everything, I just want to remind everybody to please follow and subscribe. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music is where we publish the podcast. We advertise it on TikTok, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So you can't miss us. We got a big presence growing. The show is growing significantly, and we greatly appreciate everyone following us. So thank y'all very much. As we get into this show today, and I've been big excited about doing this, about Mardi Gras, where I grew up in New Orleans and where Paul and Troy have it as well. But before we get started with all of that, I'd like to introduce the guys here for a second. And we all graduated high school in the West Bank. And Troy, I'm going to start with you real quick. Just remind everybody who you are. And you're an Archbishop Shaw graduate. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So just to remind the folks.
Yeah, I went to Shaw. Well, I went to Immaculate Conception, then went to Shaw, graduated in 80. Worked at Bunny Bread for a while. Worked for Big Paul for a little while at Tri-State Imaging. Went to work for Halliburton in 2001 and presently retired. Just fixing to go celebrate my 10-year anniversary in Vegas.
Nice.
On the 12th is our anniversary. So I almost didn't get
deal.
that.
2 days from mine.
No kidding.
14th, January 14th.
I was at your wedding,
that?
partner.
37 years ago. That's how long ago that was.
Paul, again, we really appreciate you being here to, talk about Mardi Gras. And the subject we're going to be talking about today is Mardi Gras, past, present, and future. But before we get into that, Paul, why don't you tell the guests a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure.
And professionally, and also, your current dealings with Mardi Gras time and everything that goes on as far as that's concerned in New Orleans.
Lifelong West Banker, grew up in Terrytown, Louisiana. Great childhood. I mean, Terrytown was great. The West Bank parades were great. One thing when we were kids, we always ran after the floats anytime doing carnival and had my brother. And then we got a whole bunch of friends together. We did that, but that didn't pay the bills. Working does. So I have a company called Tri-State Medical Imaging, and I have another company called Vision Imaging that promotes medical imaging, and that's what I do. And thank God I have those jobs and I own that business, because if not, I'd fire somebody like me for not doing their work. Because during carnival time, I get tied up on all the different parades. But I handle, during Mardi Gras time, about 8 different parades that I help out with. I'm president of one, Crew of Morpheus, and riding Carrollton, and Parade Marshal Cleopatra, Choctaw, Pygmalion, Parade Marshal Carrollton also, Druids, Babylon, Toth. So I'm kind of busy doing carnival, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the camaraderie with all the guys and some of the co-ed clubs. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good people out there. People talk about go to church and this and that. To me, Mardi Gras is like church. You have kids that come into the club. You got them as pages when they're on the page float. Then they graduate to a maid. Then, like, my daughter was a queen. I was king twice. I was fortunate enough to be king of Allen in the 75th year in 2000. What was it? 2007, and
It
then
was, yeah.
king of Morpheus in 2012. So I'm very fortunate with Mardi Gras and everything else, and dealing with everybody. So
Nice. And you're married, and then you have a daughter. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your
yes,
family
I'm
real quick, too?
married, coming up on 37 years, and my daughter's 32. I think 32 right now. Yeah, she's just turned 32, and so I'm very fortunate. Got 2 dogs, and life's good. Can't complain.
Excellent. So Troy and I are both Shaw Eagles, and we got a WestJet Buccaneer on here with us, I think, Troy,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
WJ, we can't spell it anyway. That's what Troy always told me.
All right. So before we start digging into the topics of the day, I like asking a couple icebreaker questions just to get us in the mood with everything we're doing, loosen it up a little bit. My first question I have here for you, Paul, is what was your favorite parade as a kid when you were growing up, and why?
Oh, Jesus. There's a
I was
couple of
gonna guess
different ones. Huh? What were you
I
going to
was
say?
gonna guess.
Ferret? Oh, yeah. No, that's what I was going to do. That Krewe Ferret, uptown. My grandfather was king. My aunt was queen. It passed right in front of my grandfather's shop, and I remember it as a young child going there, and we would watch that parade, and it was just incredible. And then when I got a little bit older, I talked him into after that parade, because my dad used to ride sometimes, and I used to get my mom. We'd go to Hercules in Gentilly.
Right.
And I'd always plan, even when I was a kid, I remember getting the parade routes out, because back then they would tell you the floats that were in there. They would tell you the route and the theme and everything in the newspaper every day. And I would mark where we'd stand, and I'd get them go take me there. I mean, I'm like 8, 9 years old. They're listening to me wanting to go to parades. And then, I mean, if you think about it, it was nice back in the day.
Nice.
Just looking at all the old style floats, and it wasn't. People look now at how much they catch on parades. Oh, that's a good parade because you catch. You look at the beauty of the parade. Look at the floats. Look at the work that goes into those floats.
Absolutely.
The costumes. There's so much that goes into Mardi Gras parades that the average person doesn't really see. That people in Mardi Gras always worry about. Oh, we got to make it right here. Got to make it right. And the average person doesn't see it, but a lot of people do see it.
Right.
The beauty and all in it.
Totally
Hey,
agree.
with you being, parade marshal for all these parades, that's just a lot. Just being like, you got to get the bands and stuff and all of that. But man, you still go to the coronation balls. You're involved with that. You're involved with the regular balls, the after parade parties. I
Yeah.
mean, dude, I don't know. Like you
Well,
said, good thing you're the owner of your company.
yeah. Well, the thing is, that's one thing I don't do. I don't really book the bands. I'll help out sometimes or get some groups, but mainly the club has a representative,
Well,
their
that's
parade
good.
marshal. I handle logistics the day of the parade. So if there's a problem, organizing the parade, putting things in, keeping it together. If it's got a gap in it, we work with NOPD. I got a group of guys that I'm very fortunate that love Mardi Gras and volunteer their time just like I do. We don't get paid for any jobs that we do. We volunteer everything we do, and we enjoy it. We just did the Sugar Bowl parade last week. A little small parade. It was fun. 11 floats. Got some good bands in it. But majority of my stuff I do is the day of the parade. I do help other clubs with balls, and I get invited to go to it, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the camaraderie with everybody. And there's a lot of good people in Mardi Gras, and just want to put on a good show for the people out in the city of New Orleans, the West Bank, Metairie, all over the place.
And that's, I told Tommy Schaff, y'all know who I'm talking about there. I told Big Tommy years back. I said, man, Paul is a franchise during Mardi Gras, man. That dude is all over the place. It's amazing what you do during those times, Paul.
Yeah.
And
like I said,
Troy,
I love it, so it's no big deal.
No, absolutely. It's a fellowship, man. It's a fraternity type of thing, and especially the guys that are helping run the parades, because like you said, Paul, you need to have a passion for that, because you're not getting paid to do this stuff. It's a passion you have, and you have a lot of respect for the past and carrying forward traditions and those types of things, which really, it gives you a heart-filled feeling to be able to do those types of things. So I think it's amazing that you do that. Real quick, Troy, what was one of your favorite parades? What was your favorite parade when you were growing up as a kid?
My favorite parade was Poseidon.
Poseidon. Posito.
My Aunt Mary Chasson used to ride in it, and a bunch of the Captivilles and stuff. And my Uncle Norman Chasson owned the log cabin, so we used to
Yeah,
catch the
yeah,
parade
yeah.
in front of the log cabin all the time.
Whew.
And then,
That had to be a lot of fun there, man.
oh yeah, and then oh it got when I was a junior Duke one year where I rode in a convertible,
Right.
and then I started riding on a float, and Mr. Barrel, what's his name? Shucks, Mr. Captiville, one of the Captiville brothers,
Okay.
Mr. Merrill Captiville. He was the float lieutenant for me, and I used to ride on his float for years. And then my cousin Charla Sanchez became a maid, and I became a senior Duke with her and all of that. But that was my favorite parade, Poseidon.
So my favorite one, real quick, when I was a kid growing up, hands down, was Grella in Old Gretna. My grandparents lived on the 500 block of Derbany Street, and they used to have a big deal going on at Macalusa's Bar, which was right across the street. And they had a big shindig going on there. And then after it would pass by the house there, my cousins and friends and I, we would run over on Huey Long and go stand outside by High Rollers and watch all the people. I'll just say cutting up and having fun out there. But what a great time as a kid. It was, but hands down, it was Grella, you know?
Yep.
So anyway,
Grella, I used to parade marshal Grella from the late 90s till 2010, 12, something like that. I rode on a float with Milton Berle, and that guy
Oh,
had so
wow.
many stories. Oh no, it was cool. Me and the cop up there, Rusty.
Man,
was his name.
I remember because we caught it around the courthouse when he was in the parade. I remember that now. I remember that.
He
you know?
he was a great guy. He's
He
telling
was
us
up in
stories how he
age, man,
walked
around
in
that
the.
time.
Oh yeah, he was in his late 80s or whatever. I
Yeah,
mean, he was up there,
man.
but he was telling us stories about him when he walked in with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield arm in arm to the Cabana Club, and
My God.
just telling us stories, and we were fascinated about just what he said. And then the Boston Club of the West Bank, which is I'm
Yeah.
affiliated with. This was before I was. They gave him a box of cigars, and they toasted him right there in a stand on Franklin Avenue. And then he says, put this in the back behind the float by his bag. So we did. And he told me and Rusty, lean over. He goes, you know why? Al Capone told me this one, never smoke a cigar that somebody else gives you because you don't know if they put something in it. I've never heard
Ooh.
that before. That's one story that's
Wow.
one story he told us on there, you know?
Wow.
So
crazy.
he was
Crazy.
a
You know
trip.
what? You know what he's infamous for in Hollywood, huh?
Yeah.
Long duck dong.
Woo! They said
All
that.
right. All right. Before we
Yeah,
digress,
go figure Troy would turn it into that.
Hey,
one last
I didn't say anything.
icebreaker question here.
Hey, what's he famous for in Hollywood? Not only a comedian.
Yeah, something like that. All right, last icebreaker question. And since this is we're talking about Mardi Gras in New Orleans, Paul, just tell me what's one of your favorite things about New Orleans, just in general.
I think it's the people. I think it's the people in New Orleans. You go around, as you're walking by, hey, how you doing? What's going on? As you're walking down the street. Now, if you're from the West Bank, you see everybody you know. And that's one thing when you
Right.
ride on the West Bank, every corner. When I ride in New Orleans, I
Oh,
do see
man.
people, okay, when I'm on the float, but not as much as on the West Bank. Every corner you hit,
Oh my
you
God,
know?
yeah.
You see people
Yeah.
left and right. But you go out of town at different places, people like turning their heads, like you're walking down the street. What was it? Last year, we ended up going to visit my wife's family in Germany. And I get up every morning and walk. And it's like 6 something, and there's people walking on the street. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? They turn their head. So finally I started like doing it a little more just to be obnoxious, going, hey, how you doing? How you doing? You know? And because we get it here. Hey, how you doing? You know, like Troy says, how's your mom and them? You know, it's just the people in New Orleans are real friendly, outgoing people, you know?
Without a doubt.
They really are.
Yep.
Without a doubt. I was away at school and, college. I was away in the Navy, and I can 100% vouch for that. And, nobody knows about where you at and how's your mama and them and, what y'all got going on and y'all going up front today, that type of, nobody has that kind of talk like that. And
Nah.
it's unique in city of New Orleans and all the surrounding areas and all the bayou areas. It's the same thing, man. It's just an awesome place. We grew up in an area that was kind of tough, a lot of tough tough means and things like that, but just amazing, awesome people that will welcome anybody in. And I always use an example, Troy, is tailgating up at LSU. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody will welcome everybody to come in to eat and all that, unless you got an Alabama hat on or something. But outside of
Right.
they'll welcome you in. Hey man, y'all come over here. Y'all come have some of this jambalaya. Y'all come have some of this. Y'all come have some of that. And
Well,
crawfish boils and all that time. You don't have that stuff anywhere else, man.
nah. One of the
So.
things with Paul, when I go back home, I always try to hook up with Paul for lunch somewhere and stuff. And it's like you with the mayor
Right.
because
Right.
Paul's got to work the room. Paul's got to work the room because everybody, especially like if we go to the Rabbit or some local place on the West Bank, it's like, hey man, you're gonna come eat with us or what?
Right. Right.
I get a lot of that too sometimes, but not
Well,
as
you
much
get
as
a
Paul.
lot. You get a lot of that. I don't
Oh,
want to
yeah.
hear
I
that.
do. Hey, I'm famous, but for other things.
Well, Troy, you know what? One thing I'll say with that is I'll probably compare Paul's to somebody like Truck Email. Like you said, I know a lot of people, but that guy knows a lot of people.
That is a fact, man.
It's a big truck, baby.
Here I am thinking I know a lot of people, and then Truck Email comes along and blows me out of the water.
And Paul's in that same company, man. He'll know everybody.
Right there with the truck.
Paul, I know how it is. It probably takes you half an hour to leave somewhere when you go somewhere, right? So anyway, well, good. So why don't we get into the meat and potatoes of everything that we're here to talk about, man? Like I said, I'm big excited. I even wore my old costume top I had from Toth from about 15 years ago. I've been having it. And my wife, Becky, she's like, what the hell are you doing with that? I said, girl, don't you worry about it. I got talking with TC and Paul tonight, man, on the podcast, Anyway, Troy, I see you got something going on for Buc-ee's there, man. What you got?
I bought that about, probably about 8 years ago from Buc-ee's. Of course, Buc-ee's has every shirt for every day, So I just picked this up. I was just thinking, man, I got all of these beads. I should have threw some beads on. I got an Endymion flag upstairs in one of the rooms. I should have put that as a backdrop. So lazy,
Come
bro.
on, brother. Come on now.
Hey, if we take a break, I'm gonna run and get some beads.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
All right, y'all ready for this shit?
Get it, brother.
You got a refund?
All right, so we had a quick little break here. We got to see Troy is the king of Mardi Gras right now, as we see right now. He's reigning over his crew. How about that, Paul?
That's incredible.
I love it.
Yeah.
Look at my boy, all loaded down, man. What is that?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the Gretna Italian Irish. Yeah.
Oh, look out,
That's
man.
the medallion that we had this year. That's our third year
Who's
for that
that- who's-
parade.
is it- who
it's
is
really
that
going good. LSU.
Got a little Nemo.
There you go.
Got a little crabs. Yeah, y'all both had the crabs before, huh?
There you
Nah, I think only you,
burr-
Troy. Only you.
I've never had the crabs, but I had the crawfish. Got the fruit with some corn. I'm set up, bro.
Oh boy, you crazy. All right. TC's leading us into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be covering here today. Or should I just say the chicken and sausage gumbo, what we're going to be covering today. We're going to talk about Mardi Gras past, present, and future. We're going to throw out the nostalgia first. So let's talk about Mardi Gras past, Paul. And things I want to talk about is, parades, how they used to operate and things we got to enjoy. Not so much a history lesson going back, 100 years or anything.
Yeah.
But let's go back to like the 70s, around that time, and talk about how Mardi Gras was during that time throughout the city of New Orleans and the surrounding area, if you would.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I remember as a kid, and then you see on the reels and stuff like that. But one thing about Mardi Gras, which is different from today, back then, there was only a handful of women clubs, the
Right.
krewes. You had Venus, you had Iris, were really the two well-known women clubs. It wasn't until the 80s that you got into Shangri-La and Chalmette and Daughters of Eve,
Well, you had
and then you had
Cleopatra and
in 70
Nefertari
on the West Bank,
right?
you had Cleopatra, then you had Nefertari in the 70s.
Right.
But there were small clubs, and there's nothing wrong. That's one thing that's changed today that back then, a small neighborhood club, when we had Cleopatra and Nefertari and Alla, Choctaw all running through Terrytown, it was that area. Carrollton was up in the original route was on Carrollton back then.
Right,
Okeanos
right.
would start at City Park with Carrollton. They would go up Rampart. And then you had the St. Charles Avenue route. But if you looked at the old style parade, even Krewe Ferret would be up and down Ferret, up and down Napoleon, and that was their
Yeah.
parade. It wasn't 5 miles. It might have been only 2 miles, 3-mile route. And then they started conditioning into these clubs. But there's nothing wrong with a parade. I mean, you could have 150 riders back then and put on a parade. Today, unfortunately, you can't afford to have a parade with 150 people. It doesn't pay the bills. The cost is so much. Unless you're an old line crew that has their own floats and everything else, you know? So that's one thing. The people were different too. You would stand there and you'd watch the parade. If you caught Czechoslovakian beads, those glass beads, if y'all remember those when we were kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You get
definitely.
you get a couple of pair of them and everybody was happy. You get a doubloon. I remember chasing floats with doubloons back in the 70s, to get for your collection.
Balloons were like more valuable than the beads back then as kids. I
Yeah,
can tell you that.
back then, yeah. Back then
Dude, I tell you, I'd knock a old lady down for a doubloon.
Yeah.
There ain't no doubt about it. I used to go, and if it was a colored doubloon, because a lot of clubs just threw like aluminum and gold, and man, I was like, especially like Daughters of Eve, they had that chartreuse one, and that was something. I mean, I remember picking up late. Everybody at the doubloon back then hit the ground, people would stomp on it. Man, I used to pick up old lady's feet. You get that, reach under there and get the doubloon.
I had my hand smashed several times going after the doubloon. And if you saw a 10 gauge doubloon hit, you could hear the difference between a regular doubloon and a 10 gauge hit, and you just went at it. Especially Bacchus with the King Bacchus doubloons. You would go after them.
Oh my God, yeah, those red ones, I think, right?
Yeah, the red ones.
They were red.
Wine. Yeah, they were red originally, and then they turned to the wine colors years later.
Okay.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, the first king that had the wine colored doubloon, was it Danny Kaye?
Let's see, there was Raymond Burr, Danny Kaye.
Right.
Yeah, Raymond Burr was the first one, but his picture wasn't on it. It was Danny Kaye, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And then you had Phil Harris in 72, Bob Hope in 73, Jackie Gleason in 75. Now, Perry Como was another one for Bacchus in 76. And he did not, I think it was him, that did not have his red doubloon. He didn't have it. And then 77 was Harry Winkler for Bacchus.
Yeah, and then it was Ron Howard the next year, I think.
70. Well, I thought Ron Howard was 79, Ed McMahon was 78, and Pete Fountain was 80, if I remember that. And I could be wrong. Listen, that's going back a long time,
Oh, yeah. Man, my mother really wanted those King doubloons from Bacchus, and my cousins Wendy and Mark Grunts, their uncle Spider ran the stands around Lee Circle during that time. So we got to get in the stands for free. And man, I would just stay under the stands and get all the doubloons that would fall. They would throw into the stands, and I would just go pick them up under the ground, under the stand. So I would get a King doubloon from my mother every year, just being underneath the stand, Troy? So that was crazy, and, having fun there, and sneaking, drinking Miller ponies and all that underneath there too,
Yeah.
But one thing I remember the most about back in the 70s and all that, when we were, we were kids growing up from Mardi Gras, was just being around a lot of family. And with my grandparents living on Derby Street in Old Gretna, I mean, we got to go to Cleopatra. And then on Saturdays, we would go see the first weekend, Choctaw and Algiers on Opelousas. We'd go out there, and we had some family out there. And then on Sunday, so we go watch. Alla was kind of a iffy parade back then, but the second weekend on Friday would be Nefertari with the didn't they have like an octagon doubloon or something?
Yeah, hectagon.
Like
Hectagon.
Yeah,
doubloon. 5 sides.
And then Saturday, and that passed on Derby, and then Grella, which was the big parade for us on Derby, and then Sunday was Poseidon. So we really didn't even go to the East Bank much when we were kids. But we had everything right there we wanted. But the thing I remember most was it was just what made it so fun is uncles and the older guys and all them being out there and them drinking and just cutting up and having fun. And the Macalusa's bar was right across the street. And then going to High Rollers was, you know, an old Gretna going out there. And we just follow the floats. We'd have like 200 doubloons with everything. But like for Poseidon, we'd watch it there. And then we'd go to, we go down to 4th Street. We go around Log Cabin to Schnell's and watch it. Then we would end up going to Westwego. Because, boy, you talk about just a lot of fun, man. Just a blast.
That turned into, it was a big parade on the West Bank. I mean, really big, like 30-something floats at one time. West Side Shopping Center, if you remember when they would line up over there, you know, take up the whole shopping center area. You know?
Hey,
absolutely.
I was going to bring up about old school, like way back when. You see a lot of pictures on Facebook. You know, we go to Mardi Gras now. You know, if it's hot, we wear shorts and a t-shirt. Back then, man, they used to wear suits, dresses.
Yeah, they dress up. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it was a dress-up thing, not in costume, but like they were going to church or something.
Right.
Know? If you look at the crowds that were on Canal Street, it was incredible. I think back then there wasn't as much things to do in life. You know, now everybody's so busy running around doing this, doing that, and there's so many places you go. And I think back then not everybody had cars and stuff. And so that was something big. It was amazing the crowd that they had. My question is, you know, they didn't have portlets out there for the people. Where did they go? You know, did they drink back then? Did they not? Did they just sit there and watch it? You know,
I mean, probably back then they'd let you go into restaurants and use the bathroom. Now.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good question right there. Where do you go?
Well, the thing I remember is we usually knew somebody's house along the route, and you could always go to somebody's house. You know,
that was worth $1 million right there.
Oh, without a doubt. I remember a parade we used to go to that my Uncle Charlie used to ride in every year. It was Jupiter. Do you remember that one?
Oh, Jupiter and Juno and Chalmette. The husbands had Jupiter, and then Juno was the wives or something like that.
That was it. That's it. Wow, that's exactly right. Yep, that's it, man. But what a treat that was to go out there at night, because like I said, we rarely went to the East Bank. But to go to Jupiter that my Uncle Charlie rode in, and like you said, man, we knew what float, what side, what number, and Charlie, you know. I think that was the only time I got to call him by his name instead of Uncle in front of it, you know.
Those
I remember they had some parades out in Fat City too, didn't they, Troy? I think they had some things going on in Fat City back then.
Yeah, God, I drew a blank. Actually, I can't remember. Like,
was it Argus?
Well, you had August is Mardi Gras Day. The first Friday was Atlas. If y'all remember Atlas on that Friday, and then that Saturday night was Centurions.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, not Centurions. I meant to say Caesar. Krewe of Caesar.
Caesar. Okay. Okay.
And then you also have like Thor, Krewe of Mardi Gras was out there.
Krewe of Mardi Gras. I remember them. They were on a Wednesday all the time.
Yeah. And then Aquila was on Thursday, and then Krewe of Diana was on Friday night. You know.
Remember Halois?
Halois was on Metairie Road. Yeah, wasn't Halois on Metairie Road back in the 70s? Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then Zeus was always the Monday. What's that?
Yeah. I don't think we went to the parades on the East Bank, most of my crew, until we were in high school and somebody was driving. And then we started going to the parades on the East Bank. But when we were kids mostly in the 70s, we just stayed in the West Bank most of the time, except for Jupiter. And I think I always wanted to go to Rex. And then I think my dad brought us to Rex one year, and I'm like, man, this is the most boring parade I've ever been to, after everything that we go to. But Rex is more the pageantry and the prestige of Mardi Gras. I'll call it prestigious parade,
Yeah.
Nothing like going to Zulu, which before it was Zulu was a blast, that's a big fun parade,
Yeah.
So it was when we were kids, it was just a lot of family and family friends and all that. And that's what made it so much fun. And being at, either your grandma's house or your uncle and aunt's house or, wherever, or going, like Troy said, going out to the log cabin and all that in that area, man. And which is right across the street, basically, from the old Moulin Rouge.
The Moulin Rouge, baby.
The Moulin Rouge, my chat. And that had to be a lot of fun out there, man.
You went across, you thought you was in France, man.
Exactly.
But you still have the Jay, you still have the families out there, and what's happening is,
Absolutely.
and that's one thing I see with all the parade. I like to sit back when I'm in the convertible or the car I'm in when doing the parade marshal and walking around,
Hmm.
and you see so many people in each corner. And what happens is, I mean, I've been doing this since '97. I started helping John Beninati out with doing the parade
Right.
marshaling, and I see, and then you used to see the grandparents out there, or the great grandparents and the grandparents. Now all of a sudden, the parents took the place of the grandparents. You got the kids out there, and it's just generations after generations. So what they
Yeah.
show on the news, which you see all over the place, a 4 to 5 block area, which is Canal Street, Bourbon Street, and all they talk about, oh, the girls going wild, how bad it is. What you don't see is that parade route's 5 miles long, and it's all the families along that route
Right.
with the
Exactly.
parades, with the T-shirts, Toth or Pygmalion or Carrollton or Cleopatra,
Tux, you
Morpheus,
know?
all that
Yeah.
Tux, crew of Tux. They all got
Yeah.
T-shirts on, just like I got my Morpheus shirt on right now. Okay,
Right.
but
Right.
it's all everybody's proud of the club that their family rides in, or they just come out there with their kids. You see the playpens off to the side, and that's part of it. It's family experience. That's what Mardi Gras is about, you know.
I tell
And
you,
that's one thing that's good about it.
I totally agree with you. And I tell you, one of the most heartfelt things I've ever experienced during Mardi Gras time is I rode in Toth, and Troy, talking about a truck used to basically run the float that we rode on for Toth for a long time. Him and Joe Sherman, and we would stop at the old route by Children's Hospital, and we would actually get off the float and go bring beads and everything to the kids because they would wheel out a bunch of the kids by Children's Hospital. And man, you talk about just a wonderful, awesome experience we had back then. So just really
Well,
cool
Toast still
stuff.
does. Yeah, Toast still does that. They have their group, and they go to Children's Hospital, and they get about 200 of them together in costume, like what you got on right there. And they'll
Yep.
go bring toys. They'll go bring, and they'll make, bring beads and have a jazz band and stuff like that, and run
Yeah,
around Children's Hospital. I mean, that means a lot to those kids, you know.
absolutely.
And it's not always just about, hey, let's have a parade and have a lot of fun. Everybody gets drunk or whatever else. A lot of these clubs have purpose. You know, there's a lot
Yes.
of
Yes.
charity,
A lot of
lot of charity work, and that's what it's supposed to be. Give back something to the community. It's we're in the community where we put on a parade. That's nice, and we always try to put on the best parades we can. But on the backside of it, the different food drives, the different charity events that we do, Second Harvest. Like I said, Toth with that. Carrollton does the Ark, where they do boots, decorating the boots, but
yes.
they do it with the
Hmm.
Ark. Cleopatra does the Toys for Tots. I know Morpheus does the same thing. We deal with Children's
Nice.
Hospital also. There's so many different charities that people can give back, and that these carnival clubs do give back to. Rex is a big one with their pro bono,
Right.
big, that they give back. And that's what it's about, giving back to the community that takes care of you and comes out to support you on the day of the
I
parade.
think that's great. And I'm really glad you brought that up, Paul, because it's almost like that's kind of a hidden message that goes on with the Mardi Gras cruise, because there is no Mardi Gras without the parades and the cruise, that the people that support it financially, that are in the clubs and participate in all the events, and that there is a significant amount of charitable donations that go on, and not just donations of things, it's donations of people's time to help out. And it's just that might be a whole nother podcast in itself, because I think that's a message that's not gotten out enough. So I really, really appreciate you bringing that up. When I was in Tope, we did those things with Children's Hospital, and that's just a feel good thing to be able to bring a smile to these kids' faces during those times, and to see them out there, just the excitement they were getting just over beads or a Nerf football or something like that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So
It's stuck
just
in your head. So what I'm saying is that
yeah,
it was a good memory for you. It gets a good feel, and that's from years ago
absolutely.
when you used to ride, you know?
Yeah, absolutely,
Um,
and something I'll never, never forget. So just cool stuff, and a lot of things that the kids would get excited about is seeing the bands go by. And my, y'all know my youngest son Seth. He was in LSU's band, but when he was in high school at Holy Cross, when those kids would see the bands come by, they would just get all excited, and the bands would always play, something for them when they were walking by. So just an amazing thing to see. Just really, really cool stuff.
Now
And
you
that's
see,
something that's been going on for years. Go ahead, Troy.
I was I didn't like the bangs. Let's get to the next float.
He's lying. He wanted to see the cheerleaders and all that, the pep squads in the front. He's lying.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
So no, that's a really good subject we just covered on the past, and there's a lot of great memories there. So let's transition over into how things are in Mardi Gras present of things now. And Paul, you're really on top of all that. And some of the things just to kind of kickstart us in that subject is I just kind of see how Mardi Gras has grown into more of a touristry type industry over the past maybe I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 years. It's really morphed into that, more of a touristy commercial thing, but you still have kind of the neighborhood feels to some of the parades just because of the routes that they take in town, like starting uptown and then ending up on Canal Street. So talk to me about what you see as Mardi Gras present right now that's going on.
Well, right now, what you really see, which you didn't see in the 70s, really, and going up, is the women's cruise that had just exploded.
Yes.
Okay. So, and everybody back in the day, it used to be even male. 90% of it was all male. You hardly had any co-ed clubs, and then you had 2 or 3 women's clubs in New Orleans area. And then on the West Bank, you had a couple also. And then all of a sudden the couples, the co-ed crews just exploded. All right. Crew of Amour is one in Chalmette. They used to have 30 to 40 floats. They were huge in Chalmette. And then you had other clubs in the city. You used to have Bards of Bohemia. You had different ones. You had some clubs that were all male and they had to convert to male and female because they were losing. They were going out and they're no longer here.
Right.
But now the women's clubs like Iris, 3,500 riders. Crew of Cleopatra, who left the West Bank with 200 and something riders, is over 3,300 riders this year. It's incredible.
That's crazy. That's
You have
crazy.
you have other clubs. You had the club Knicks that exploded and then imploded because of comments. But that was an
Yeah.
all women's club. The women's club bring a unique difference where the male clubs just have the costumes and no accents to it. They don't dress up wear funny hats. Where the women's club wear the colored wigs, they wear the loud outfits and all. And it's a fun thing to watch. And they're all having a great time. And that's what Mardi Gras is about, the great time. You still have, you got Orpheus with, bringing up Lundegra before. Lundegra really didn't have a lot going on. And then Orpheus come around in 94 and it kind of brought Lundegra back into the picture. And it was a co-ed club founded for everybody to be part of. You still have Proteus rolling at night, which is all male, old style. And it's got the old style floats, which I love,
Yes.
Babylon's
Yes,
another
true.
one with the old style floats that Royal Artists has been doing the past couple of years. And it's really, really nice. If you get a chance to go out there, see their floats, it's really incredible.
Paul,
And
don't their floats have wooden wheels still?
they got the old garbage truck. Not too many of them, but they do have some with the wagon wheels still left. It is the worst ride. It is the worst ride you ever.
Oh my gosh!
It was an old garbage truck that they just cut off the top, and then they just got the chassis, and you roll it down the street. But in a way, if you look at the old style floats, that's what causes that paper mache to look lifelike because it's constantly moving, not smooth running down the street.
Okay.
So that gives
Yeah.
it the animation that, hey, guess what? This looks alive, and that's what they
Yeah.
go for with all the gold leaf and all the little trees on there that they put. And it's really remarkable, on that. So,
Paul, if you would, let's talk a little bit more about Lundegra because, man, I've had some really fun times at Lundegra. And I think it really kind of exploded, like you said, maybe about, hell, probably almost 30 years ago now. Did Harry Connick Jr. have anything to do with Orpheus back then when it first started out or something? I thought I
he still
remembered his
does.
name with something.
Still does. Supposedly, he started it along with Sonny Bore, who's still the captain of Orpheus. And they have done a great job with the Leviathan, the train, the Smoky Mary. 5-section Smoky
Right. Oh
Mary
my
is
God.
incredible.
Yeah.
With the stereo system. I was fortunate enough to, Blaine asked me to ride with him, and my wife and I and his wife and some other friends rode for a couple of years on that float, and it was incredible. It was really, I mean, the music and then just the crowd out there. It is really nice. I used to parade marshal it with John Beninati years ago when he used to be involved in it, and
Right.
it was a nice crowd. I mean, very nice crowd where you never had that on Lundegra. And then they
Right.
started the thing back at the river where they they had Rex meet Zulu because they stopped that for a long time and then they brought that back. And it's all part of tourism to get the tourism
Absolutely.
in,
Yeah.
you know, and it helps out.
Well, I've told a lot of people that come to visit New Orleans is to make sure you go to Lundy Gras. And for everybody watching that's not aware of it, Lundy Gras is the Monday before Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras Day, and there's all kind of things going on. There's bands playing outside in the French Quarter area. There's just so much activity going on, and it's just so much fun to just walk around that day and just be a tourist in the area. And you can go see the parade, you can go see the bands, you can have the greatest food in the French Quarter restaurants. It's just so much fun. And again, one of my favorite activities that Becky and I have done for many years is just you can go out there and Troy, you know this, people watch and have the greatest time ever. Talk to me, Troy.
Dude, I mean, I can remember going to parades, just watching like drunks. I was probably one of them at one time, but stumbling, rumbling, and just acting like a fool. But as I got older, like instead of sometimes if you had somebody that was doing this, instead of watching the float, you'd turn around and watch this way.
Right.
Stop watching the parade, huh?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The float's passing. Why are you looking the other way? Well,
Yeah. But some of those times it's not people you want to see either. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. You want to throw
Like the
beads at them
woman-
and tell them to put the top down,
like
Right.
the year
Right.
we rode on was it St. Patrick's Day in Ala, and remember we lined up at the Del Champs on Berman Highway, and I'll never forget some ladies got her top on. I said, here's a long bead, just put it down. I mean, that's the most almost lost my word. Yeah, I'll give you two long beads, put your shirt down.
There you go. But I can tell you, the Lundy Gras has really morphed into something pretty huge. I think, Paul. It's a lot of fun that day, man.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and then also it's a prelude to Mardi Gras because the whole thing is you have so many people that sleep along St. Charles Avenue, and it's so funny. I remember when we were kids, my dad would go park a car on the other side of St. Charles Avenue, and then we might have to walk 4 or 5 blocks on St. Charles Avenue just to, before St. Charles Avenue to get to the car. But I remember leaving the West Bank. Remember, we only had one bridge. And Mardi Gras morning, there'd be someone over. They would let De Gaulle go for a little while. Then they would let Cherry Parkway go. If you remember, they would do sections to let you go over. And I just remember that being a young kid going there. And I remember eating cold chicken, potato salad.
Yep.
That's it. But I mean,
that's Popeyes, baby.
Yeah.
Old Popeyes chicken.
Old Popeyes chicken.
Talking about Mardi Gras Day. My dad could care less about Mardi Gras, right? JC, he was hunting, fishing. That's him, But Mardi Gras Day was basically the only day he would go out, and we would wake up about 4:30 Mardi Gras morning, and he had an old 70 Chevy with a camper on the back, and that was our portalet. And we would stop off at the log cabin, pick up our chicken and whatever else we got that day. Get a box of chicken. We used to get a box of chicken, like the box that the canned beer came in, and they'd fill that up with chicken. And so we'd go there, and I remember going over to Huey P. Long and then going down Airline, and then we would park on St. Anne. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Jackson Avenue was the first place we'd park in front of this church, which was about 2 or 3 blocks on the right in front of the church. So all the kids and the women would go to Jackson Avenue, watch the parade. And then when we had to pee, we go back to the truck. And then my dad and my other uncles could care less about Mardi Gras. They just kicking back, people watching, drinking beer.
Yep.
As I got older, we started going on St. Anne. We'd park in front of this old dilapidated house, like right off of St. Charles, like a block. And we'd park there for. But yeah, man, growing up, man, you know, with me being adopted and this woman that had me, this lady that had me was from Oklahoma. And thank God when she had me, she came down to New Orleans to give me up for adoption because
Right.
I wouldn't even know about this. And I'm
Crazy.
blessed. I'm blessed
Yes.
that I got to be born and raised in New Orleans and was able to witness, you know, Mardi Gras. One of the things she told me the first time I talked to her, she's like, I took you to Mardi Gras. So I was still in the womb, but here she is drinking and smoking down Bourbon Street. She says, "Yeah, I took you to your first Mardi Gras," and I said, "Well, I've been to probably every one since."
There you
And
go.
I thank the good Lord. I thank the good Lord that I was born in New Orleans because it was just so. How many people, you know, we always say everywhere else in the U.S. is just a regular day,
Yeah.
except where New Orleans,
New
and
Orleans. Yep.
Well,
people don't know what they.
look at the New Orleans people. You always have people move away. This one moves out of here. They all come back. Believe it or
Yeah,
not,
Yeah.
a lot of people come back to Louisiana, to New Orleans area, because these other cities that you go to don't have the excitement that we have. Festivals, Mardi Gras, you name it, just
Yeah.
all kind of different stuff. Jazz Fest. You
Without a
know, we
doubt.
got so much stuff that goes on here. You
Yeah.
know,
There's
when you
just, there is.
when you tell people, yeah, well, my Catholic school had a fair, I worked the beer booth. What?
Right.
Wait,
Oh,
wait, what? Oh yeah,
oh,
when I played
on a high-low table,
right.
table.
Hey, when I played baseball at the park, my parents would be watching me play ball, drinking a beer on the sidelines.
Right.
Or when me and my dad and my mom went make groceries, JC would go get him a draft at Swagman's and then walk around drinking a draft, shopping.
In the
that's
grocery
funny.
store. Yep. In the grocery store, without a doubt.
Yep.
My
Had
grandfather
that
lived
little
on
bar that
Maple Street. We'd be over there all the
beer and hot
time.
balls.
But
That's funny.
yeah, so with the present Mardi Gras, I think you see a lot of people that are, especially a younger crowd that's coming in town, the touristy type of thing I was talking about, Paul, is, everybody wants to go to Bourbon Street. And I think that's just a big magnet with the younger crowd is getting out there on Bourbon Street. But you'll see a lot of the parades, they start out in the uptown area, which is more of a family oriented area. And that's where I recommend people to go that go in town for Mardi Gras is if they have kids or they're older to go in the uptown area to watch the parades. And then as you get closer to the city, that's where all the younger crew wants to go. And I don't blame them. Go experience, but I always tell them stay in groups, stay together. You don't need to
Yep.
go in, stay on the beaten path. Don't get, and they gotta be safe because the crime there is rough. So,
Right.
safety first, have designated drivers, don't leave each other, stay together.
Yeah.
Don't trust anybody you don't know. So
Yeah.
that's just a huge thing I wanted to bring out too.
That's a
Yeah,
good.
also, yeah, you see nothing but family. Magazine, Napoleon area, right up in that area, is nothing but young kids and families as you get
Yeah.
down a little further, especially Friday before Carnival. You have the out
Right.
of town college kids that all come in and they hit
Right.
the upper
Right.
part of St. Charles Avenue and down, and then you have the real younger group all down on Canal Street on Bourbon Street. It's amazing how many people are down there, you know.
Crazy. Yeah, without a doubt. It's crazy.
If you
So,
ever walk
well,
down there, it's incredible.
let's segue into, and Paul, this is one thing I really wanted to see what your thoughts were on this is where do you see Mardi Gras in the future? Where do you see it 20 years from now, 20, 30 years from now? What do you see how things are trending?
Yeah. Well, everybody's worried about security nowadays. And we learned that with New Year's last year in 25 would happen on Bourbon Street. And,
Yes.
for
Yes.
years,
Yeah.
I would always look down St. Charles Avenue and you'd have all the cars coming against traffic, coming against the parade route traffic. And, you just get out. And I've done it many a times, park on the corner, jump out, caught the parade, jump back in there and took off.
Hmm.
Well, they're finally going ahead. They put these barricades, these water barricades out, and they're going to start doing them again. But I think security is a big thing in the future because unfortunately, the times we live in now, we really shouldn't have to do this, but we have to protect the people that are watching the parades and the parade goers,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's a shame because it takes away from the parade. And I don't care what town you're in, if you're at the Rose Bowl, everybody's looking at the same thing wherever you're at, a big event. I mean, look what happened to the Santa Claus parade years ago with the
Yeah. Yeah.
women and stuff like that. That people got shot at a parade. in some
Yeah.
small town and it's just a shame we got to worry about that when all everybody wants to do is get together and have a family moment or a family event and watch a parade or watch something that's going on. But that's, I think, more and more security. New Orleans Police Department is the best police department in the world. They can handle it. You know,
Yeah.
Gretna is another one that
Hell yeah.
uses outside areas, agencies to help them out. They do a phenomenal job also. Jefferson Parish, they do a good job. But they're all used to dealing with the crowds,
Yes.
and I'm gonna tell you, they bend over backwards a lot of times to help the different groups or help people along the route. It's impossible to take care of everybody. Unfortunately, New Orleans has the shortage of NOPD officers, and it kind of stretches them a little bit, and it makes it harder for the parades to have enough officers out on the route in case something happens. But they do a good job covering it. They really do a good job covering it, and hopefully in the future things progress better to where we don't have to barricade the whole route. There was always talk
Right.
about barricading the whole route, make it a sterile area. That's not Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is watching the band, backing up to the curb, walking back into the street. The float comes, catch your stuff, walk back. I do agree with barricades in certain areas like turns and stuff like that because of these
Sure.
long, big
Sure.
super floats.
Oh
They could
yeah.
clip somebody. And
Without
that's
a doubt.
something you
Yeah.
want. Yeah, you want it to be safe for everybody. But I'm just hoping in the future that with security, it doesn't take away too much of what Mardi Gras is about, and that is just getting everybody together and having a good time. And
Do you
that's
still
my
see
only.
still see the super cruise as more of how things are going to be in the future with less parades, or do you see things
That
kind of
it
coming back
seems,
a little bit with the
yeah,
smaller ones?
it's hard because of the cost of everything. And then, there's nothing wrong with a small club that has 200 riders, but as long as you can pay the bills, and that's the problem. You need a club that has at least 500 riders just to cover the cost. A lot of people don't realize, there is no outside money that these clubs get. Each
Right.
club is private funded. Okay.
Right.
We have some that do fundraisers to cover the dues, besides the dues, but to cover the pay at the cost of everything. It's always every year, hey, okay, we can do this or that. And then if you have a couple of dollars left over at the end of the year, you're like, great. Sometimes you're in the hole and it takes you time to get out of it the next year. And that's unfortunate, but that's how some crews are. The cost, what a lot of people don't realize, those bands that you see, there's
Oh
nothing
yeah.
free in those parades. Okay.
Right.
Um,
Oh,
some
I
of the
know. Yep.
bands are
Without a doubt.
$3,500 a band, and you're putting it between two floats.
Right.
So you have to have something in between the float. The charter says you have to have so many bands and so many marching groups per parade and so many floats to put on a parade. Because honestly, you can't have New Orleans Police Department or Gretna or Jefferson Parish put on a parade with 5 floats. How can a
No.
5-mile route? How can you have the resources to do that? The
Correct.
cleanup, the cleanup of the parades too is all
Yeah.
the trash that's out there. If any of us saw at the end of the parade, Mardi Gras Day, or just at the end of a day of a Demian or Bacchus what the route looks like, and then the next day it's all cleaned up. It's amazing. We've been doing the Gretna Parade now. The Gretna Italian Irish Parade is the 3rd year. The sanitation crew that Gretna has, along with some people from Jefferson Parish, I think helps them out. You don't even know a couple hours later the parade has passed. They hit it so quick. It's
Except in
incredible.
the trees, right, Troy? Except
Yeah,
in the
well, the
trees,
weeds
you'll
and
see
the
the
trees,
beast.
yeah. But I'm talking about on the street, the trash and the
Right. Right.
produce that's on for St. Patrick's Day. But they do a
That's
good
true.
job of cleanup. The people don't realize EMS is involved. How many they got EMS
Yes.
stations along the way? How many EMS? A lot of times what people don't realize, Homeland Security. You'll see a chopper that
Yeah.
flies over the parade route. A lot of us seen that. Well, there's another layer of added security above that, a higher level. It's just so much that goes on. The average parade goer doesn't realize what goes on in Mardi Gras.
Well, one of
Let me
the
ask you.
things
Let me go ahead, Troy.
one of the things, I've seen on like comments, like posting pictures like after a parade is passed and it's a sea of garbage and people comment, that's just ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But they don't understand the volume of people out there. You
Whew.
could put you could put a garbage can every 25 feet. They would be overflowing in no time, you
Right.
know? I mean, the easiest way is the way they do it. You know?
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a lot of work, and then also you have all these beads. Think about it. Nowadays, like Troy, remember we used to ride in the alley years ago. And we had those little small beads because we could. That's all we could afford,
Yeah.
right? And people would catch those or
Right.
whatever. And then if you had those today, people wouldn't even put their hands up for it. All they want, a
No, they
lot of
wouldn't even
times, they
try to
want the
get it.
light up
Right.
beads, right? And even the 33-inch beads, when we were young, we would catch was nice beads. Now they want just big beads, kind of like what you got around your neck. If I'm not getting the
Right.
big
That's what
beads,
they
I'm
want.
not going to try to catch it. You know?
Right.
When we were young, you hardly the only beads you saw on the ground were broken beads.
Yeah.
It
Right.
wasn't. Man, if you went, I'd say this: if you went after Endymion passes, and if you went about a 6-block area, move all the trash out the way, and pick up all the beads that people didn't want and didn't pick up, you could ride. Well, you
You
could
could ride
ride on a
next
boat
year.
the next
Yeah.
year. You get enough beads. It's just
And
amazing the
cups.
weight
And cups.
of the beads
And
that.
cups.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I love the cups because we use them as go cups.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Anybody
Yeah,
in New Orleans, you go to their house, there's cups in there. You know, I
yeah,
I
went
can remember
3.
Kevin Pressenberg and I being at the parade just yelling for cups the whole time. We
yeah.
cup.
I
That's all
mean,
we would
hey,
do.
what's funny is, like we'd have people that come to the house from out of town, and we'd fix us a drink on the way out, and they said, "Hey, you want to say, hey, oh, here's your cup." I said, "Bro, throw that shit away. We got another 2,000 at the house."
Oh, yeah, we overflow with cups. But you know what? Those cups are great advertising for the parades. About 3 years ago,
Absolutely.
I was fortunate enough to go by my niece in New York, and she lived about a couple of blocks away from the Thanksgiving Day parade, Macy's,
Yeah,
right? So we go
Right.
there,
Right.
totally different. We're sitting there at 6 in the morning, dark, and we don't know anybody around us, but there's people around us. We're sitting in chairs, and I see a guy next to me about 8 foot over with a Endymion cup. And I
What?
said, man, I moved up from New Orleans about 10, 12
Oh,
years ago. It
yeah.
was an old cup, but he still got this old Endymion cup that he had, you
I
know?
still got your face all over this house. All the cups I got with your face.
But yeah,
I tell
it's
you what,
reusable.
Paul, I got a question though. I've got a question for this block that we're covering right now with the future of Mardi Gras, and I thought about this during the bowl games because you know how it's like the FedEx Orange Bowl or the Nokia Sugar Bowl and all that now. Do you see like corporate sponsors in the future, like maybe getting involved? For instance, you'll have the UPS Orpheus Parade or the I don't know the Amazon Ala Parade. Do you see any of that coming to be in the future? Because
How about the Tri-State Medical Imaging Parade?
Yeah,
there we go,
Tri-State
there we
Medical
go.
ain't that big.
Those
I was
guys
Uh,
have
talking.
deep pockets,
Well,
man.
I will tell you this is something going on in the city of New Orleans right now, and they're actually fining some of the clubs. Okay, they were trying to keep the corporate sponsor, and because honestly, if you love old style carnival, you want to see it for what it is. You don't want a Coca-Cola float, and I'm not just picking on Coca-Cola. I'm just saying
Right,
in
right.
general, an advertisement all over the float instead of what the theme of that parade is. If that parade is uh, love in New Orleans, and it shows City Park, and it shows Jazz Fest, and it shows different other
Sure.
things. You want to see that. You don't want to see, Barks Root Beer. You don't want to see 7 Up. You don't want to see an old Blockbuster commercial. You can imagine how they had the float years ago, how they used to different stuff.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
all I'm saying is that, and the cost of everything is so high, it could happen. But right now, the city of
That's
New
why I'm
Orleans.
wondering. Yeah.
So this past year, this is a true story. I'm not going to mention the club it happened to, but they had a famous Amos cookie, and they were throwing that. Okay. The guy was a
Hmm.
real estate agent, and he stapled his business card to it, and he threw it, and it got to Gallia Hall. So they want to find the club X amount of dollars for that happening. Now, the club
Wow.
didn't know. The club don't know what all our riders come. I mean, you got boxes and you got all the bags of stuff. You don't know what people have in
Right,
each
right.
one. Okay. But there is no advertisement in it. So what they did is they said, listen, this is the rule. If you buy, say, a famous Amos cookie or a bag of chips, if it has the club's logo and name on it, that's good. And because a lot of people are trying to get into reusable, sustainable throws. So a jambalaya girl. They're jambalaya.
Yeah.
They make great jambalaya.
Yes.
Well, they're
Yeah.
private labeling for a couple of clubs right now. There's another company on the West Bank that makes seasoning, and we put different clubs logo on it. It's Creole seasoning, and we throw that off the float. So it's
Nice.
getting
Okay.
away from the beads, which are so expensive. Not only are they so
Right.
expensive, they're a waste because what do you do with all that plastic afterwards? They sit in a box
Nothing.
somewhere, and you end up throwing them in a dumpster. They clog up the city
Nothing.
drains.
Yeah.
But the thing
And
is, reusable throws and sustainable throws that we can use, that I think that's the way the future is going to go with that. But far as advertisement, I think City of New Orleans is trying everything they can to keep it from going in that direction. Now,
Gotcha. Okay.
Crew of August in Metairie they have corporate sponsored float, and if you look at the theme, other parades have had it in different parishes that it's commercialized. You know, you can have 50% of the people agree with it. You can have 50% of the people that disagree with it. You know, it's
Sure.
all what you believe. And I don't want to sit there and say, well, I'm for this or that. I just think I like tradition, and I would think
Yes.
hopefully we can keep it traditional, you know, without getting too
Absolutely.
commercialized.
I think that's where some of the bowl games have gone, and it's oversaturated with bowl games. And then, to see the corporate names in front of like the Sun Bowl or the Orange Bowl. I think the Rose Bowl has avoided it for a while. I don't know if they still do or not, but it just kind of washes away the tradition of it, the pageantry of it. And, I totally agree. So hopefully the city of New Orleans is able to avoid that type of thing. But there just are costs that need to be considered, or basically, they're required, but they're needed. And it's for safety reasons, it's for
Yeah.
sanitation reasons, and all those types of things. And mostly for safety, in my opinion. And, those bands with the high school, those kids, that's a lot of parades. Some of those bands are marching in, sometimes 2, 3 days in a row. And I know that could be tough, for those kids
Yeah.
to do.
And
Go ahead.
yeah. No, I said a lot of them, they try to stagger them a little bit. Some of you Catholic schools and all try to do every other day. Some only do
Right.
like weekends. You know, they pick and choose some of them. And then some do all the time. Then you have some college groups that come in.
Yes.
Talladega, some of those groups like that come in, and they got some very good bands, but they
Yeah, like
charge
LSU
an
will come
arm
in
and a
every now
they
and then. I
charge a
know that.
lot
Yeah.
of money to be in the parades, and a lot of people
Oh,
don't realize
absolutely.
that, you
And there's
know?
a lot of logistics with those kids, with the bands, with the instruments and everything else, man.
Well, if you
That's a
think about
lot.
all the tourism dollars that come in, and the bands are part of the tourism because they got to have a place, they got
Good
to
point.
eat, they got to sleep somewhere in a hotel. So that's all money coming in. And that was some of the
Absolutely.
biggest misconception that Mardi Gras doesn't bring that much into the city of New Orleans because all the
Oh,
expenses they have.
of
The
course they
study
do.
has proven it over and over that that's false. There's so much
Right.
revenue that comes in. Troy, just think about all the beads that we buy. You know, just that during the year.
Yep.
Then you think about all the people going out to eat. What do you do after parade? That's what I love about New Orleans. You can sit here, be eating lunch, and you talk about where we're going to go eat for dinner. Okay,
Right.
and what happens?
Right.
You go to a
Right.
parade, you eat along the route because there's a candy apple cart, or there's a grocery store in the corner selling stuff,
Box of
and
Popeyes.
box of Popeyes, you're eating there, and then all of a sudden after the parade's over, what do? You go out somewhere to eat with the family
Yep.
and stuff.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I mean,
so
for
Without a
example,
doubt.
I just went down there and watched Paul and John were king of the Irish Italian parade, and
Grand
man, we
Marshals,
had a
yeah.
great time. And then all of a sudden, at the end, we got together and they said, "Hey, man, let's go to ground patty. Ooh, let's go."
Yeah,
And started,
Hungry
we had
ground
about
patty.
25 of us at Ground Patty eating afterwards,
yep.
but it was all together. It was just a great day,
And I knew two
everybody
people.
together. What's that?
I said I knew two people in there.
Yeah,
Three.
I love it.
yeah,
But good point, Paul, because those 25 people probably wouldn't have been eating at Ground Patty that day. So that brought
right.
money, commerce into Ground Patty. And it's just a real domino effect as far as all that goes. Look, we covered a lot of ground here today. We've been going at it a little bit over an hour. And man, I really enjoy I could talk about this another 2 or 3 hours. This is just so
Yeah,
much fun. I really enjoy this. And if y'all okay with this, we might make this an annual thing because I love talking about Mardi Gras. Maybe we can do one next year around this time, and we'll just talk a little bit more about. I love talking about the nostalgia things because that's what's
yeah,
going to really that's what really grabs people, especially around our ages and everything. And I think they really have a good time. just listening and thinking about things that they experienced. Just a lot of happy times when we were kids growing up during Mardi Gras.
And there's
Nothing
so many
against a
different
knock.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, there's so
Hey,
many
Go
different
ahead.
things. There's all the subgroups now. That small groups in the quarter. If you look at the quarter parades,
Oh,
you might
God,
have one parade, but it's not. They're not all members of that same group. It's one group that has 20 people. One group has 50 people. And they pay dues into that group, the march, and they all. So if you get a chance, go to the French quarter parades on Frenchmen and the Marigny
Awesome
and all.
parades,
It's totally. It's a Krewe Chewbacca's another one. The Star Wars theme. It's just crazy. The costumes and stuff that they come up with is really remarkable. You know,
Krewe
it really is. Krewe
Krewe
about
Barkus,
dogs.
with
Think
the
about
dogs.
how
That's
much.
true.
I mean, they get thousands of people that come out there. You know, it's incredible.
Oh,
You know,
animals.
oh,
Hey,
yeah.
real
Go
quick,
ahead.
Jay. Got a couple of stories for you.
Please do.
You know, Paul, I used to be float lieutenant in Ala, and Nick Nickel was my sergeant. So, you know, the way it works is you're the lieutenant, you got to recruit to fill your float.
Right.
So, Paul, I think that year we was riding on the alligator float for some reason, and we about to get to the A&P on Carol Sue and Terry Parkway,
Okay.
and there's this old lady walking out them apartments to the left with some nice cut up king cake in a tray.
You told me
Paul
about
looks
this.
hard. Watching it. Whoa! Hit that lady. The king cake's up in the air.
I don't remember that. I do not remember that.
Okay, you remember this one? About the time we were riding St. Patrick's and we passed a cat practice.
Yeah,
one of
cat
your
practice
clients.
on magazine. Yeah.
And remember them people? They were in the front room and they had their front door open.
Oh yeah,
And
we've done
one of
that.
them, I don't know if it was you or somebody else. They had all kind of crap on their table. Somebody threw a cabbage and wiped out that whole table.
I'm sure it was an accident. I'm sure it was an
It
accident.
was.
You know. Yeah.
I'll tell you
Hey,
who was the worst.
One
Another
story
one.
we did have. One story we do have that Troy and I we just talked about before we started this, but we used to, you know, when we were kids, you go with your parents. Then as soon as you got to drive, we'd have a whole group of us. We'd start out on a Friday night. We'd go catch Cleo. Then you shoot out to St. Bernard, catch gladiators. Then you go to Metairie. Okay, so you catch the different parades. Okay. And I mean, we would do all kind of crazy stuff that I do not recommend anybody. We would go up one ways.
Right.
We would do crazy, you know, just to get to the route, you know?
Right.
So one time it was on a Saturday of Edemian and Ulysses was, remember Crew of Ulysses on the West Bank that Saturday?
Yep.
They took Grella, when Grella.
Yep.
So we went to Metairie, caught the Metairie, we went to New Orleans. We caught Namtok first, then we went and caught Iris and Tux, come back to the West Bank to catch Ulysses. Now we have to go to Edemian. So we're in traffic on the bridge, and we'd have 2 or 3 cars, 4 cars with us sometimes. I had a Toyota Celica. We had 7 people in that Celica, which is 2 front seats, 3 in the back, and Nick had his daughter and another kid, and we put him in the hatchback area. Okay, we had no seatbelts, but they were back there.
Right.
And we would go in and out of the crowd, and I would block. I would take my car. If I wanted to let the cars go around me, I would block and put my car in front of another car and then let them go around, and we would tag team like that. Well, they had a cab driver, and he wasn't letting me over for nothing. Okay, and this is Troy and I were laughing about it. And I acted like I was going to zoom in on him and just go fast, but I slammed on the brakes. When it did, he's looking at me, and he punched his car. He ran into the back of another car, okay? Right there by the foot of the bridge. And this big guy gets out of the car, and all he did was put his head on the steering wheel, shook his head like this, and then we went around him, and we all got right on the bridge and got out of there, you know?
I think we all got some stories like that, man. No doubt about that.
Oh, yeah.
You know? My
Yeah.
God.
Don't forget about, in the future, you could talk about St. Patrick's Day. How great. I mean, these St. Patrick's Day clubs are incredible. The amount of people up in the Irish Channel and all those years,
man.
you know.
Fun stuff, man, on those parades,
Oh,
the Irish Italian parades.
another one. We get off the end of the parade for Ala, and we ride across into Danny and Clyde's right there. We get off the float, and God rest his soul, Nick Nickel was drunk. He was so drunk, he drunk like a soup sandwich. And We go over there, and Nick's facing a barricade, talking to the barricade.
Talking to it. Yeah, he was talking to the barricade. I remember that.
And we were cracking up. It's like, who in the flipping is he talking to? Hey, I'm talking to the barricade, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we
got pictures of people being tackled on the float. Remember that up top?
And knocking over the piss bucket.
Dude, I can tell you one of the funniest things at parade was, y'all know Phil Wagner. We'd be at the parades at, with Mike Stahl and Phil and Kevin and all of them, and Darren Vincent. And Phil, if the float wasn't throwing a whole lot of stuff, Phil Wagner would start cursing the guys in the float, calling them every name in the book. So you can't stand next to him because, of course, you know what's going to happen. They start pounding his ass, and we just like, man, you stupid ass, shut up, man. He's calling him every name in the book as loud as he can, you know. Oh my. And
same with me. The year I was on the MASH float for Allen, we went St. Patrick's Day because we got rained out on our regular parade, so they rescheduled for St. Patrick's. So my friend that I worked with at Bunny Bread was Frank Castro, and he lived right behind the Burger King on Terry Parkway. So that's where all the young kids used to hang out because you had Parkside right there. So I see him and I throw hard, right? So I'm bombing him, I'm bombing him, and we're going away from him. And I'm throwing. And I evidently nobody saw that I put up one more. And I had a gross of beads, and I threw it as hard as I can. Well, by that time, the crowd had kind of converged into the middle of the street. I hit his mother. Frank's already probably 55, 60 years old. I hit his mother and knocked her out cold on Terry Park.
Jesus.
And then Nick and all knew better not to get up when I came around, not to get right in front of the float, because I would just, So one of the times, Nick, them apartments on Carroll Shoe, the sidewalks used to be real close to the street, far away from them apartments. Nick would be out there and I'm hitting him on the run. Boom! I mean, stuff like that, man. It was just so much fun to ride with. And then I would have to spend about $1,200 on throws because I didn't like wearing my mask, and then everybody saw me. Try, and boom, boom. My buddy from California comes in town. He says, man, how much? I said, well, I spent $1,200. He says, well, shit, I don't want to pay that much. So he got like $500 worth of throws, and he still had shit when he got off the float.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing how different people throw different stuff, you know?
Yeah.
He might have been one of them guys Wagner was cursing out, Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to tell you, the one who had the biggest gun with us because Paul, we used to put a container truck out at Julia and St. Charles, okay? And we catch the whole second weekend of parades there. And y'all know Scott Bain's father. Scott was a quarterback at Archbishop Shaw in the mid-'80s. Man, Scott and his brother Brian and him would be on the float, and we'd always want to know where Scott is, not to call his name because, boy, when he saw us, he would start the damn Marino throwing at us. And we'd be like, God damn, Scott, and all that. You'd have to have a hard hat on, man.
That's how
ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, we wasn't calling Scott's name. He would hurt you, man. It was crazy, So anyway.
I remember when we were kids, you'd look for somebody that knew somebody on the float. So what you do?
Yeah.
And we were young, so we were short. So what happened was you just go right there by the woman's wayside. You're just waiting for to drop something, and you're just picking the stuff up as fast as you can.
You get everything they miss.
That was called the scoop move, bro.
Yeah, that was.
Scoop it up.
Get as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right, y'all. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here, man. Look,
I think we need to do it again. I mean, this right here I love it.
There's a lot of
we could keep talking about this a long time, man.
Yeah.
Go on midnight.
So, Troy, again, brother, I want to thank you for co-hosting. This is your second time, I think, co-hosting. You actually did a whole episode with me on old school New Orleans, and man, it's gone over really good. I really, really appreciate you being a part of the show today.
I enjoyed it anytime with my buddy Paul, man. This guy right here is a good dude, man. Sometimes he's too nice to people, but he was always nice to me. Gave me a job when I didn't have a job, man. And he's a hell of a guy, well-liked, pristine.
Oh, listen to this.
Bad part about him.
It's getting deep in here. It's getting deep.
Well, I think we're
Thank
going to call
y'all.
him Param Mardi Gras from now on, Troy.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're
Yeah.
going to call him. Man.
That's it.
No, but Paul, seriously though, man, I know we started talking about this last summer, and Troy, thanks again for calling me when Paul came in town and came over. So it was really awesome to see you that day, brother. And
I thought,
Yeah, it was fun.
I thought, yeah, awesome show, which it has been.
Yeah, really enjoyed just catching up with you. And, I'm glad we had the idea to have this show to talk about Mardi Gras and the past, present, and future. And we couldn't do it without TC with us right here, so
Oh, yeah.
there's my boy right there.
I know. He's got, yeah. He's got his, yeah. He's got his wreath
I
on
love
his
it.
head. Yep, do
I
a wreath
love
on
it.
the head.
So, all right, y'all,
It
we're
was
going to
fun.
wrap up. And I just want to remind everybody to, please follow and subscribe to us. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. And we do advertise the show on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So we're all over the place. You can't miss us. And again, I really appreciate our special guest, Paul Leman, that we've had on today, Param Mardi Gras, and Mr. T.C. Troy Cotten, the West Bank icon of New Orleans,
Oh, yeah. You
my
got to
man.
get, Troy there.
And so with that, y'all keep up with us. Appreciate everyone. Follow the show. We'll catch you on the flip side for the next episode of In the Pocket with JayBo. Thank y'all.
All right. Thank you.